2012 is a year when Russia accedes to the WTO, and following that story very closely is HKTDC's consultant in Moscow, Leonid Orlov, and thank you indeed for joining us. So Leonid, what do you see as the opportunities that are likely to arise from the accession of Russia to the WTO?
I think, well, the implications are quite obvious, but I'd like to say a few words, first of all, that, well, there shouldn't be lost expectations, because the process of accession, it's going to be, well, quite a lengthy period of taking up to 5 to 7 years to outreach onto all the industries of Russia's trades and services. I'd say, well, the immediate effect we could see maybe by late 2013 in the retail sector, whereas most experts predict that EBITDA indicators might rise in the sector by 0.5%, while overall retail prices and all the layers of the Russian retail sector, from discounters up to cash and carry stores, both nationals and multinationals, might drop up to 5%.
So when we're looking at it from the Hong Kong perspective, what are the sort of goods that you're likely to be suggesting to them as being the winners, if you like, in the marketplace in 2012 to 13 and 14?
Okay, coming back to this retail sector, we can see that the specifics of the Russian market is dominated by the fact that the food sector of the retail market is dominated by the local products by 80%, while the non-food items, they're 95% dominated by produces and goods originating from Asia mostly. So, well, I would say, well, this is a typical supermarket, hypermarket assortment of household goods, toys, stationery items, vocational goods, well, whatever, even gardening products.
So one could assume that this is a Hong Kong dividend that arises from the accession in the long term.
Oh yes, definitely, and I think, well, this is a natural development of the Hong Kong story in the Russian market.
So as part of the accession, Russia's, I think, import duties are being cut by something like 7% more than that.
Well, when you look at the official indicators, well, the average input duty, is a very obscure item, It's like, well, there is a saying in Russia, like, well, an average temperature in the hospital, But actually, well, we've got the overall input duty level at 10%. So, well, within the coming 3 years period, it is expected to drop to 7%. And by the end of the 5 years period, starting from now, it will be like 5%. Generally, I'd say, the implication does not so much lie in this amount and the figure of the input duty, but in the facilitation of customs clearance procedures and streamlining the logistics.
And when we're talking about Russia, we're now looking not just at the western part of Russia, but also the eastern part of Russia as well. And is that something that you would sort of propose, certainly for suppliers from Hong Kong? Look at the eastern areas, look at the sort of opportunities that there are from consumers and so forth in that part of the world.
This particular area has been a prerogative with the Russian government for quite some years already, and we see already the materialistic fruits of their efforts. The forthcoming APEC summit in Vladivostok is not an event in itself, It's, well, an event providing for the huge amount of infrastructure facilities and kind of potential to be developed in that area. So I think, well, Vladivostok is going, well, to unfold, to evolve into a kind of this trading hub, maybe springboard to that area, to that territory of Russia across the Ural Mountains. I would say that there are also opportunities for Hong Kong companies opening up and servicing those huge pipelines which are coming across the area, this natural gas pipeline, and crude oil pipeline, because there is a lot of infrastructure around all those projects. And last but not least, Vladivostok is going to be quite an international city, coming back into the orbit of Hong Kong's natural interests. There are, well, vast plans about making the city visa-free for the travelers arriving by air, so, well, it might be evolving into a new air hub of the area, of the region.
So, Leonid, you also, of course, help traders that come from Hong Kong with trade missions that arrive in Moscow and who you meet. What's upcoming?
Well, I think there are new elements to be taken into consideration. Well, first of all, there are things, well, I could hardly predict myself. I could hardly predict that the Silver Age products market would evolve in Russia, and we have been witnessing a very successful trade fair started in Moscow last year. I would also say that, well, there are new opportunities opening up with the food market as well. Food is becoming a more urgent issue on the world agenda, and also both export and import opportunities for Hong Kong companies. And judging on the development of the Russian retail sector, I would say there is, well, a further emphasis on private brands and private trademarks used by both retail operators and brand owners.